telling you guys about how I lost 30 pounds. Hey friends, it's Riz here, and I hope you are feeling happy today. I'm so excited to be back with another video. First, want to say I'm so sorry for not uploading a video in a little while. I have had a really busy school term, but I'm back. So in today's video, it's going to be a more kind of personal video, kind of like a sit-down situation where I'm going to be telling you guys about how I lost 30 pounds. I'll first start off by giving you a bit of a background as to the timeline, the different things that I was trying, what worked, what didn't work, and then I'm going to really end off the video with the key points as to how I was able to lose that weight and also maintain it. And I thought that it would be a good video topic to release because with everyone's New Year's resolutions and the 2022 coming around the corner, a lot of people have maybe weight loss or just to be healthier as their New Year's resolutions. So I thought this would be kind of a good time to release this video. Without further ado, let's get right into the video. To first kind of give you guys context, I want to do a brief kind of timeline and a little bit of some history as to kind of, I guess, my weight loss journey and everything like that. So as a kid, I was definitely on the chubbier side. I have mentioned this in other videos, but I grew up with I spent a lot of time with my grandparents who are European because my parents would be working, and they would just feed me like all sorts of junk food all the time. And I gained a lot of weight from just not eating the proper foods as a kid, and I was just always kind of on the chubbier side. I wasn't like morbidly obese or anything like that, but just like a little bit chubbier, you know? In high school, I was eating a lot of junk food. I'm pretty sure like 80% of my diet was made up of simple carbs, so really unhealthy, like breads, cakes, cookies, sweets, all that stuff. And I was also very inactive. By the time I was in grade 7 and 8, I started to notice that I just had some extra weight, and a lot of it was on my stomach area. That's just like my genetics, where when I have extra fat, it goes to my stomach mostly. So, you know, I'd be sitting down, I'd always wear baggy shirts, and I'd always like unroll it, and it took a toll on my confidence because my friends would say things, my family would say things. So in high school, since I started to notice this extra weight, I really started to have that kind of initial interest to want to make a change. And I remember this one memory I have so vividly is one of my friends, or one of my sister's friends. I remember she was this like small girl, like she was super cute, but she was probably like 8 at the time, and I remember I was hanging out with her and my sister, and I remember asking her what kind of foods she ate because I just thought that if I ate the same foods as her, then I could be skinny too. And I'd constantly be like searching up how to lose weight, how to, you know, reduce belly fat, how to do all these things. And I'd be looking at girls on Instagram with like flat stomachs and everything, and I just always like long for that. And I was just doing like extreme things, like cutting out things completely. I would go on like these 2-week diets where I would just like eat spinach and salads, and I always hated all the foods that I was eating. I just thought that this was what healthy was. I didn't know anything about proper nutrition, anything like that. I didn't know about calories in, calories out at this time. I would also like start workout phases where I'd, you know, work out, and it would only last for a couple weeks because all I was doing was cardio and abs because I thought that's what would reduce my belly fat. Definitely the first thing I want to say is there's a lot of misinformation out there where, you know, you see things like, oh, drink this tea and you'll lose belly fat, and, you know, do this ab workout, you'll lose belly fat in 10 days. Like I did all those crazy things and none of it worked. Throughout this video, I'm going to share what did work, but I want to also include the big mistakes that I made. Now I'm going to start inserting pictures of what I looked like and kind of the timeline. In 2017, right before I started grade 12, I would say I was probably around my heaviest weight right here, so I'll insert a picture. As you can tell, a lot of most of my fat was around the belly area, so I could kind of conceal it if I was wearing clothes depending on what I wore, but when I was in bikini, obviously like it was much harder to do that. In 2018, as I was in grade 12, I was still on the chubbier side for sure, so I'll insert another picture. It's a picture of me wearing a dress, and you can just tell, especially like the thing that I noticed the most is like my face was a lot chubbier. Then in 2018 in the fall, I started my first year of university, and while I was in university 2018, 2019, and I got off on my own, I started to do a lot more learning and talking with friends and people that I knew about just like healthier eating habits and things like that. And I started making small changes, and I wasn't doing a lot of working out or anything like that. Like, I think I went to the gym my residence had like a handful of times, but I started really making a change in my eating habits. I went through this phase where I thought like anything bread or like high carbs was the absolute devil. I didn't go on the keto diet like full out, like I still had carbs. But in doing so, this made me really change to putting in healthier foods, because since so much of my diet was simple carbs, I had to fill it with something else. So then I started eating vegetables. I started eating like meat and protein and things like that. Throughout first year, I would say that I lost like the first probably like 10 pounds from like first year to second year. Then the summer before second year in 2018, I was a lot more active. I was doing at-home workouts. They weren't anything crazy like weightlifting or anything like that. It was still more so doing like cardio. I would do some weights like shoulder press. I remember doing push-ups, things like that. So I think I would do that like 2 or 3 times a week, so nothing crazy. But this still got me way more active than I ever was. So then, as you can see throughout this summer, I was actually gaining like a little bit of muscle. So you can see in the picture here, I was starting to put on some muscle. I got really into just working out. So once I started second year in 2019, I joined Fit for Less with my boyfriend. He was really into going to the gym and everything. He got into it like the summer before. I was like, oh, that seems fun. I'll join the gym with you, because we lived together, so we would go together and everything. And so I started going to the gym, and I didn't have any specific routine or anything, but I would still do like upper, lower workouts. I did mostly a lot of just the machine stuff. I remember trying like barbell squats for the first time, and I just like was so frustrated because it hurt my back and everything was just a mess. So I wasn't on any legit program, but still getting to the gym. I remember we'd go at 5 a.m. before classes started, like 4 times a week. And this just like really jump started a huge lifestyle change, as opposed to me just like sleeping in, going to class, doing whatever. This really got me active. And I remember I would go on the treadmill to finish off, so I got some cardio in there as well. This was the first time I was actually living on my own, because in first year I was in residence, so we had meal plans and things being cooked for us. And so now I got to the point where me and my boyfriend were like, okay, we gotta fend for ourselves here. So I did a lot of research about, okay, what is actually like healthy, what is not healthy. And this is where my kind of passion for nutrition really started, because I had to fend for myself. And so I started eating really healthy. When the groceries we would buy, the dinners we would make, it would mostly be like meat and veggie with like a healthy carb. Like we would make quinoa or be rice or something like that. Now looking back, the reason why I lost another like 10 pounds during that time, it was because the majority of the foods I was eating was low calorie dense foods. I didn't know that at the time. But because I was cutting out, or not cutting out, I want to say that, I was more so replacing the simple carbohydrates that I was eating with more low calorie dense foods like salads, like vegetables, protein, all those sorts of things, chicken, meat, all that stuff. That's the reason why I was actually losing weight, because it always comes down to calories in and calories out. Insert a picture. This was me in second year. So as you can tell, I was quite thin. Like my arms were really small in this picture. So I was quite small here, and I think I lost like another 10 pounds in second year. Other thing is that I want to mention too is I think that one of the main reasons why I was able to keep this weight off this entire time till now, up until now, is because I lost it so gradually. I didn't lose the 30 pounds in like 3 months. And when you go doing that, you have to make such a huge lifestyle change all at once that it's going to be hard to maintain your whole life. Instead, I was making small changes here and there. The 30 pounds that I lost was probably over the course of probably around 2 years. And I wasn't like losing weight every single month. Like it wasn't like a linear thing. It would be like some months I'd lose more weight, some I would just stay the same, things like that. It wasn't like a steady drop, but it was just making those small changes along the way, like replacing my eating habits, changing, eating so much sugary stuff to healthy stuff, understanding nutrition. And it's a whole learning process. You can't just go on one diet that works for one person and then be like, okay, you know, I'm set, I'm gonna keep this. I treated it more as like a huge learning journey. And once I learned more about building muscle and nutrition, that's when I saw the biggest progress. Honestly, one of my other kind of pointers that I'm gonna throw in here is make it a learning process and make it your mission to not just to lose weight, but to understand and learn nutrition, learn what it means to be healthy, learn how to build muscle, all these things. You don't want to be focusing on how to lose fat. Focus on how to be healthy and how to change your lifestyle, because that's going to be what carries you through in the long run. 2020 rolls around before the whole shit show started with COVID. But basically, I remember January 2020, I got a Good Life gym membership that I still have to this day because the Good Life is really close to my home. I started doing more of the like compounds. I was doing more dumbbell free weight stuff as opposed to just machines and cables. So here's a picture of me, you know, I was adding some more muscle. When the gyms closed, when COVID started, I actually still stayed, like every time that we had a lot of like gyms open, gyms closed, gym opens, gym closed. And every time gyms closed, I still worked out, I would say 4 to 5 times per week, always. There wasn't a time that I missed it because I was so dedicated and I just loved it so much. It became more, going to the gym for me now and what it was in the past is just, it's really just like a mental thing. It helps so much for me mentally, which is dealing with stress, dealing with a lot of different things I have going on. So it was never about going to the gym equals weight loss. That's never what it was for me. And I think that's a huge mistake people make, because when you make that kind of big correlation, then it's like, and you miss one day of going to the gym, it's such a huge thing. It can lead to binging. It can lead to all these things, lead to more stress because you're like, oh my gosh, no, I can't lose weight because that's my only way of doing it. It was more like a compliment for me to my regular healthy lifestyle. And I think that when you tie it to something more than just weight loss, that's what's going to help you keep it in the long run. Because I've been weightlifting slash like bodybuilding for like over 2 years now consistently, and I haven't fell out of it or anything like that. I've been doing it consistently. In the summer of 2020, as you can see in this picture, I was probably around the thinnest, the lightest that I was. You can tell like by my arm, it was really thin, and just like I had lost a lot of fat. So for me, what ended up happening is like throughout my weight loss journey, I lost the weight, lost the fat. So it was like that first started, and then I started to build the muscle as I got. So first I kind of had a solid foundation with my nutrition, and since I was getting micronutrients, I was getting enough protein, all that sort of thing, I had a solid base of which I could actually start to build muscle on. Because you can't just take your normal shit diet of like cookies and freaking cake and no protein and expect to build muscle off that. That's not gonna work. The gyms reopened, I was really focusing on weightlifting. I saw more gains. You can see in this picture, I was starting to put on a decent amount of muscle. Throughout 2020 and 2021, I just kept on weightlifting, as I said. So here's some more pictures. This picture, you can tell I have like a pretty low % body fat. You can see my abs in it. I do have decent amount of muscle, and that brings us to now. So in 2021, even just from August until November of this year, I have made significant gains as I've been focusing more on strength now. I kind of am transitioning from like bodybuilding to powerlifting now and focusing a lot more on strength. If you guys want me to make a separate video on that whole process, let me know in the comments down below. But so this is just a picture of my back gains from August to November, so just in a matter of a few months this year. And in the present time, so right now, I think from actually like these last 4 months that I've been putting on this much muscle, I have been I wasn't the weight that I was in those pictures where you saw like my arm was skinny. Like I have gained weight from that point, but that's not like fat. Like I've maintained my fat loss over these last few years. The reason why I've gained some weight and I look bigger as well is I have been focusing on strength, so building a lot more muscle, and also I started taking creatine consistently every single day. So as soon as I started creatine, I gained like 5 to 10 pounds, and a lot of that is water weight because it causes your muscles to really retain a lot of water when you're on creatine. It's just the weight that I've gained right now to this point, from like when I was at my lowest weight, has been like either water weight or just muscle. That was a timeline and kind of the breakdown of my whole weight loss journey. Now I want to focus on basically the main takeaway points. The first thing that I want to say is, I said this in my other videos before, but I want to say it again just because I'm sure a lot of people don't know this, but weight loss always comes down to the basic law of thermodynamics. Calories in and calories out. If you're eating more calories than you're burning, so calories in is greater than calories out, you're going to gain weight. Remember, energy cannot be created or destroyed. It has to go somewhere. Now, if you're burning calories out, more calories than you're consuming calories in, then you're going to lose weight. The reason why I started seeing a difference and I started actually seeing myself lose weight, as opposed to just doing like these 2-week fad diets and then going back to my regular thing and getting frustrated, when I started actually seeing true results is when I understood nutrition more and when I just started eating healthier foods. And so I don't think like carbohydrates are bad by any means, but what I do think is that, and what's a fact, is simple carbohydrates are very calorie dense. So if you have something like a bagel, it's like 200 to 250 calories on average, and that's not going to fill you up. That's actually going to make you hungrier because your body digests it so quickly. You get a huge spike in your blood sugar levels, insulin's released, all that kind of stuff, and then you get a crash, and when you're down here you need more sugar to give you that high again, that sugar high. So you get in these vicious cycles when you eat simple carbohydrates. That's what I was going through a lot of my life. That's why I had the extra pounds. Once I started replacing these foods, simple carbohydrates and high calorie dense foods, I started replacing these with low calorie dense foods and foods that were higher in protein and fiber. Because protein and fiber, those are gonna fill you up. So as an example, I actually have these on my desk, which I munch on, but these are dry roasted edamames, and literally the only ingredients are just like the soybeans and sea salt, these like edamames, right? And so for a third of a cup, you have 130 calories, 14 grams of protein. You get a really decent amount of protein for like around 100 calories, and this fills me up. Like, this is a great afternoon snack. So this is just one example of the kind of foods like that, as opposed to eating like freaking goldfish, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying carbs are bad again. It's just more I focused on making that switch and including more complex carbohydrates. So things like oats, things like quinoa, those sort of things, sweet potatoes, because they have fiber and it takes your body longer to digest it. You don't get that spike, you don't get those cravings, and that is what makes such a huge difference. When I saw even more of a change and even more weight loss was when I started to put on muscle, when I started working out, doing weightlifting, because at this point, once you have more muscle, something called your basal metabolic rate goes up, and I need a whole other video going more into detail about this, so I will link it down below if you're interested. But basically, long story short, your metabolism goes up, you burn more calories when you're just sitting here doing nothing when you have more muscle, and your muscle will just burn calories for you. It's awesome. The other thing that really helped me too was listening to, and I know like people hear this a lot, they're like, listen to your body, intuitive eating, but it's like, what the heck does that mean? Like, I didn't really understand that. I was like, like, what are you saying, body? Like, I don't know. But the best way to describe it, and I think it just takes a lot of time and a lot of practice, is you eat when you're hungry, don't eat if you're full. Because overeating is one of the worst things to do, because that's really when your body starts, when you have too much energy, that's when your body starts to store that fat, right? When your glycogen levels are full in your muscle and in your body, then your body's gonna start storing glucose as fat instead of as glycogen. If you're full, then you don't have to eat, you know, like you're full, you're chilling. But if you're hungry, then eat as well. Like, don't go to bed hungry, things like that. The other thing is I focused on bringing in foods and not cutting out foods. So if I focused on cutting something out, like I would say, don't eat chocolate, don't eat chocolate, don't eat chocolate, guess what? I would binge it and just like eat like so much chocolate. So instead I just focused on bringing in foods, like, oh, I'm so excited to have like my really pretty like smoothie bowl with like all these things. I'll insert some like pictures of some healthy things that I have been making. The other point that I wanted to make as well is focus on eating high protein foods. These are what are gonna keep you full, and that's what's gonna help you build muscle. So if you are going to the gym and everything, you're not gonna see any progress if you're not having enough protein. You need the amino acids, the building blocks. And the last tip or point that I want to make is you crave what you eat. And this is the most true thing that I've found, is because the more that you eat sugary things, the more you're just going to want it. Like, just try it out. It's weird. Your body wants more of what you give it, which is really true. So once you start transitioning to having a healthier eating habits, you'll notice that you're gonna become more accustomed to eating those foods, and your body is going to be as well. I also wanted to end this video with putting in a little disclaimer in there that I'm not a doctor or registered nutritionist, and what works for me is not going to work for every single person out there. These are just the things that worked really well for me, where I saw the most differences. But I think that these takeaway points that I'm making are facts, and it's going to apply to everybody, because at the end of the day, you need to have good nutrition, good healthy habits to be able to accomplish your goals in terms of weight loss, muscle building, strength, anything like that. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video and you learned some things. If you have any questions or want to chat about anything, drop it in the comments down below. I'd be happy to help any of you guys out. And also let me know what kind of videos you want to see next. If you want me to go in depth of anything that I talked about in this video, I'd be happy to do so. And I hope that you guys have a killer day. Bye!